Okay, now we're going to start on the boots. And so we've got our body, we've got him really smooth, we've gone over his head, we've cleaned up around his eyes, we've got the wool blended in on his ears. I think we're ready to start on the boots. So we've washed them, we've blown out the boots. Cheyenne's going to cart them out to begin with. And so let me see that card a second, Cheyenne. This is a card that we're going to use. It's just this little simple animal card for doing sheep, dogs, whatever. It's got little wire teeth on it, and it goes in. We're going to go in, hook the wool, and pull it out in a pulling motion. So this first time, we want to get all the tangles out. We want to pull everything. And so if you watch as Cheyenne goes in, she's going to be pulling. Then we'll do the initial trim, and then we'll come back and pull down. Lots of different ones. When I have a set of boots on this lamb, he's got a lot of wool on his boots. And so there's lots of different options. We can use our regular clippers that we've sheared the body with. They do fine. It just takes a little longer on these lambs that have a lot of boot wool on them. What I like to use on this type is we're going to use our Oster 20 tooth, and we're going to rough them out, get some of the long loose ends knocked off to begin with. And then there's some other options that we can use. And if you're at the stock shows, a lot of people like to use these small cordless clippers. These are legal at stock shows. This is a new type of clipper that's out. It's also battery operated. That is same type of blades. It's the same equipment that we have with the plug-in kind. And so both these are not available to use at the stock shows when you get there. But these two are battery operated, and so they are legal to use. And so I like using the big set. I have a wider surface area, and I can make my lines more square. And so what we want to look at when we start doing these lambs is the angle. You want to understand the angles. We want their feet to look good. And so the rules that from the knee down is where we can have boot wool. So you see I've left just about a ½ inch above the knee. What we're going to do is trim this really close and blend it in here on the front knee. And so if we use a ruler, we want lambs to have straight lines. And so that's what we're going to look at here in the front and on the side. And then we're going to come around to the front of the lamb and also make sure we have straight lines here and on the inside. And so this is where, you know, a good judge, you're not going to fool, but in terms of putting everything together, this is one of the things that's very important, and I spend a lot of time working on these boots to get them just right, because if I've got a lamb that's a little narrower, or if he hocks in a little bit, or maybe he knees in, I can use the wool that he has to correct some of that. And it's just kind of putting the finishing touches, kind of the icing on the cake, if you will, to put a lamb all together. And this is when we take these animals into the ring, there's a lot to be said for ring appeal. And so doing the boots and having them presented very well will increase your chances of success in the show ring. And so as Cheyenne's going to continue to do this, I'm going to take my clippers and I'm going to use these 20 tooth combs because we've got a lot of wool to cut off. And so as I get around here to the front on this lamb, you can see I want my line straight. So I want to leave plenty of boot wool on there. I don't want to leave so much that it detract from the lamb's appearance. And so if I use my straight edge, you can kind of get an idea of what I'm going to trim off. Again, we want to make sure and we keep our lines on his front legs straight. So we're going to start trimming. I like to start on the inside as a way to see where I am. And then come over on the outside. And then again, when we get over here on our profile, we want our line straight, so you can kind of see if we're going to do a straight line, that's kind of where we want to take off. So when we get back here on our back angle, you can see this lamb has a lot of boot wool. So if we leave too much, that makes him look narrow-based. We want him to look as wide in between these back legs as we can. And so we're going to make our line straight. And so if we do that, you can see, kind of get an idea how much here on the inside. He's got a lot of boot wool. That's why I like to use these 22s, because they cut a little bit faster and it's a little easier to get them through there because the teeth aren't as close together. Then we're going to come around to the side. And sometimes it's good to have somebody, we want his feet standing like he's going to be standing in the show ring. Have somebody just bracing on him just slightly. And so we've got his feet where he's going to be presented in the show ring. And so we can see, again, we want our lines and our angles to be straight. So I'm going to go in and you can kind of get an idea of where I'm going to start to make this lamb look the best on the profile. Okay, you can start to see a difference there now. We've got our lines, we've got the basic shape that we want. Now we're going to go in, cart them up one more time, and then we'll use our other clippers to get everything nice and smooth. You got that card? You decide. Okay, we've got our boots roughed out. Now we're going to take our fines that we've been using to blend in everything else and go ahead and finish trimming up the boots. When I get on this side, I'm looking at these two lines, and I'm going to get on the other side behind him and look at my lines going this way. I want everything to be square and smooth and flow from the body on down into the leg. It's always best to take a little bit, recard when you've got one with a lot of boot wool, and keep working it until you get it in there smooth like you like it. And you can see, let me start over. All right, and you can see we're getting close. We've got this inside line where it looks really good, but you can see my outside, I still got a little too much wool down here at the bottom. So I want to take off a little bit more at the bottom edge. We're getting pretty close. So we've got our lamb. He stands square. Okay. We're going to take out the wool on the inside, and our lines here on the inside and outside are pretty parallel as they go down. And so then we're going to come back around here on the side view and make sure our side lines are also square. You can see I need to take a little bit more off right down here. And we're getting really close on this one. After we get to this stage, what I like to do is kind of pull down, make sure everything stays together and blends in, and that's pretty nice how it flows all down. I mean, some people may like them bigger, some people may like them smaller. I like them to fit and flow through the lamb's body and down here to the ground. Let's finish up on the fronts. And so right here at the knee is our line that we want to get down to. And so in some states they allow you to have more wool up here on the forearm, but here in Texas we have to have this slick shorn, so we're going to shear down to here and then just gradually bend and blend this in. So as I come down, I'm going to roll my clippers up as I go over that knee and down into the lower leg. Okay, so I like my lines here when I'm looking at him from the side. Now I'm going to go around to the front and do the same thing. And so I always want to make sure that my lines are square. I need to take a little more off right here, but we'll come back. I want to look and see on the inside now. All right, when I'm looking at the front, from the front of the lamb, I say I need to take a little bit more off this inside. I want my lamb's leg to come down and be straight. Okay, and so you can see if I hold my ruler up, I'm going to have to take just a little bit more off here on the inside till I want this lamb's front leg to be smooth. So we're really close on this leg. I like the way it flows now. And then the one final item on the little hairs on all of these sheep, I like to go in and trim this hair right here above their toes. Okay, we're going to pull our front boots down one more time. You can see as we go down here pulling out, this lamb had a lot of boot wool. So on these kind, you just kind of got to keep working. You can see as I look here at the angle, I like the front, my back here, I've kind of got a little bit here and a little bit here that still need to come off. So we've got this lamb, his boots are still a little bit damp, but if they get dry out, I've got some mane and tail and water mixed up in my spray bottle, and what I like to do is just spray a little bit on there. That way that gives some body to that wool. When it's wet, it's more elastic and you won't break as much of it off. And so it doesn't take much, just a little bit when you're getting ready to start carding it up. Okay, so we've got our lamb done. We've done his head, we've sheared around his eyes, we've trimmed around his ears, we've got the wool blended in here on his ears. We've done a good job in terms of getting him smooth. We started off, we went with our clippers, we went long ways, and then as we came back, we got him smooth this way, and then we went 2 different angles, over the top, from the bottom, over the top, and then this direction. What that does, you can see all these little swirl lines that the pelt is on this lamb. And so what that will allow us to do is to get everything smooth. I run my hand over him. I don't feel anything that stands out as far as being long. We've got our glutes blended in well. I like to get them at least that far before we go to the show. Once we get to the show, I can wash them, pull them down again, and then trim off any of the long fibers that come back. But in terms of show ready, we've got him sheared, we've got his boots done. One of the last things that I like to do is take my mane and tail in water and just mist on him. And what this does is put some moisture and conditioner back into his skin and into that wool, because the big thing is the touch on these lambs. We want to maintain that condition of that hide. We've washed him, we washed a lot of those natural oils out, and by putting the mane and tail, or there's lots of different products out there that you can put on them to keep that freshness and that moisture back into that lamb.